So I think it was Mark Twain who said just because you can watch Westworld inside a VR headset doesn't mean that you should.
Yep,
I think it was Mark Twain
who
said
sure.
that. Yeah. Joining us to talk about his experience with HBO and Google's Daydream View is Russell Hawley from VRheads. Welcome back to the show, Russell.
Thanks.
So what did you think of HBO's VR app?
I'm not a fan. I'm not a fan for a couple of reasons. It's really just not very well put together when compared to just a lot of the other VR apps that are out there that do very similar things, like Hulu and Netflix and a lot of these other Google Play movies that is now available for Daydream. It's really just not well assembled. It forces you to remove the headset in order to log in, and anyone who's ever used HBO's app knows that you have to do that once a month. Regardless of which service you use, because HBO bumps you out once a month and makes you log back in, but you don't know that you have to log back in until you've picked a video to watch. So you go through all the menus and you pick a video to watch, and then it tells you that you have to take the headset off so that you can log in, which just isn't done on any of the competing products. It's really just kind of frustrating.
I think the craziest thing is they have you like sitting in a room in VR and you're in the second row. Like if VR is going to do anything for us, like I want to be in the front row.
It is visually a little odd that you're not in the front row, and also kind of unusual when compared to some of the other competing apps. But there's an argument to be made there for it adding depth, which is an important part of watching video in VR. If you're watching kind of a flat video, it's important to create artificial depth so that there's not eye strain, so that your eye feels like it's focusing further out than it normally would. So while that is kind of weird, it's not without purpose.
Yeah, I'm trying to think actually, because I've seen video environments like this on the Gear VR before. When you watch a video, you can place yourself in the middle of a movie theater, and it's never in the front row. It's always in the middle. And that's probably just also to just kind of give you a sense of this space that you're used to being at. And yeah, so that kind of makes sense to me. One question I have about this is, in my time with Daydream VR and my Pixel phone, heating is a regular occurrence, a regular issue with a lot, the games that you play. Do you get that when you're, especially considering the fact that you might be watching something for like 2+ hours?
So I don't get that any more than I got it with Samsung phones in the Gear VR. Okay. The ironic exception being the Note 7.
Of course. But
yeah, so, every phone gets warm when you put it in VR. And the way that Daydream is designed, you've got this band that's right up against your forehead. So the heat kind of, draws that straight line into your forehead. And that's not particularly comfortable if you're, playing for extended periods of time and there's not a lot of airflow, wherever you are. But it's not something that I've said that I found to be any more or less frustrating than Gear VR usage, including, watching videos for extended periods of time.
Yeah.
Now, do they have any unique VR content, or is it really just the shows on HBO?
No, so for right now, this is the tablet view of HBO's app with no VR-friendly interfaces or anything like that. It is straight up the tablet app just kind of hung out in front of you. With the menu bar off to the side, and you kind of swipe with the Daydream trackpad to navigate. You don't use the pointer part of Daydream to do anything other than select files. And all of this is weirdly just separate from some of the great experiences that exist in Netflix and Hulu and Google Play movies that are all doing the exact same thing.
And so you recommend all of those apps for Daydream, the Netflix?
I think Netflix isn't out yet. It's going to be out later this year. But I think my favorite so far has been Hulu, just for the sheer attention to detail, right down to very silly things. There are 4 wooden blocks on the table in front of you that you can kind of pick up and toss. If you find yourself, in need of a distraction during a commercial or something, which I just thought was really kind of silly. But there is a practical use to having all of these weird things in front of the table to kind of add immersion. All of the light, the colors that are playing off of this virtual screen in front of you actually get reflected off of the things on that table to create the immersion that you're actually sitting in a dark room.
Right. It's not just a static screen that isn't actually interplaying with the environment that surrounds you at all. One question that I have is, obviously VR is about immersion, and it's about, three-dimensional environments and all that kind of stuff. And then we have, motion pictures that are released in a 3D versions and stuff like that. Is there any plan or any sort of solution for watching those 3D versions of like major motion pictures in VR? Does HBO have any plans to do that? And if not, anyone else?
We haven't seen any official plans from anyone yet, but I genuinely hope that happens. And there are kind of cobbled together solutions. If you can, get your own video file of a 3D movie, there are standalone video players for the Gear VR that you can load it into and get that kind of three-dimensional effect while you're watching. And that is very cool. But yeah, I really think that if someone could put together streaming that 3D effect into a headset, it would be really good.